Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another LockDown edition of Know the Ledge. This is the program where we tell you about what's happening in hip hop, but not just hip hop within hip hop, but just hip hop and everything else. So we're having conversations with hip hop heads around the region, within the country, around the continent, and the world over, just to find out how they're doing, how they got into the culture, and what they're up to right now. So on Know the Ledge, we don't like to blow people's horns. We like for people to blow their own horns. So my brother, why don't you tell the people who you are, what you've done, where you're from, and take it away, bro.
Yo, what up? Yo, so this is my day, and currently known as ERAZE. Basically, I guess I'm one of those old hip-hop heads who's now taking a back seat, but back in the days, I think we had like the biggest hip-hop show Namibia has ever seen. I don't know what's happening in Namibia right now, but I think we had like the biggest hip hop show on radio to ever rock Namibia. I stand to be corrected, or I want somebody to come up and argue about it, but I think we had the biggest show that birthed a lot of hip hop heads in Namibia. But yeah, that was many years ago. But so basically, I got into hip hop like way back in the 90s, you know.
Yeah.
And wait, am I jumping the questions? What are the questions?
Where are we? You're supposed to blow your own horn, man. Like, introduce yourself.
So basically, so now away from hip hop, what I did, and I remember telling people this some time back, like what I did is I took the experience, I took the creativity, and I took the confidence that I got from hip hop, and I brought that into business and said, you know what? When I go into a business presentation, when I'm presenting any of my products, that's my new stage, right? That's me right now performing to a different audience, to a smaller audience. And there's no way that this audience is going to scare me because this is a smaller audience, because we've been on stages, we've been in clubs, rocking stages, and now we're just talking to 10, 20 people in a small room. I'm like, you know what? This is my new hip hop. You know, let me switch it up and then let me switch the focus. And with that in my background, I think I've always approached most of my business engagements with a lot of aggression, and to take it away from the boardroom to how we even just grew our brand. Because we have one of the biggest media brands in Zambia, and hopefully in a few years' time, one of the biggest brands on the continent. And what we did is the same confidence, the same attitude that we had in hip hop, we brought it to building our brand. We're like, you know what, we'll confront anybody, we'll go all out, we'll be loud, we will just go out and just spread our brand the same way hip hop artists will spread their music, feed cred. But yeah, that's basically where we're at. I can't tell right now if the internet is, if you can still hear me because it's freezing.
Yeah,
unfortunately, we're still on the continent, and the internet here is not the best of things. And yeah, and I can imagine with this lockdown right now that a lot of people are home, so the traffic is just crazy. So I won't blame the service provider. Yeah, but yeah,
it's just what it is. Yeah,
that's what it is. Yeah. So basically, yeah, that's who I am right now. So formerly known as ERAZE, now ERF, Edwin from Fortress Media. That's yeah.
And of course, you have a TV network now. Like, I'm blowing your horn now.
Yes, and we are now running a TV network called Live TV. Live TV as a channel is a network that has one aim, and that aim is to make sure that we build the mind with positivity. That's so dope. Our aim is to build the individual, build the community, build the region, build the country, build the continent.
All right, cool. So, like, let's take it way back. How take us real quick into your journey from the first time you got into hip hop to, let's say, when you decided to take it to a business level.
Yeah. So I remember this time. I think I was in junior high, and a friend of mine was like, you know what? I think we were listening to a lot of Biggie at the time and a lot of Tupac and the Brad and JD and them. And then a friend was like, you know what? Let's go write a rap. And, you know, and I was like, okay, let's go do this. Let's go write a rap. But that's how we just started writing raps. I think we visited some guy who had a microphone and a boombox, you know, back in the days. And then we started spitting and rapping. We didn't take it serious, but all the time I always just, you know, like used to rap and so on. To a point, I remember by the time I finished high school, I would actually make money writing rhymes for people. Like that some guys would come and write some rhymes for me, you know, they'll just write some rhymes, do some ghostwriting, make some few bucks here and there. And then I think I came across Fruity Loops at the time, went into Reason, and then my brother was in junior high with this group called Cypherglyphics, and he came home with them and said, those guys are looking for some beats. And I think those are the first people to ever rap on any of my beats. And, you know, from that, like that gave me the confidence to start to go deeper into production and deeper into hip hop. And, you know, the guys from Cypherglyphics, one of them is now a doctor in Kenya.
Yeah.
Still raps. B-Rain.
Yeah.
There's Current. I think he's still in Bots.
He's in Zambia, actually. He might be in Zambia, actually.
He might be in Zambia, yeah.
Yeah.
The guy called Taz, he's in Malawi, and the guy called Best is still in Botswana, and those are the first guys to rap on my beats. And then after that, some guys called the Broadhurst Battalions, I think they came as well, and they rapped. Basically, that was just a whole bunch of craziness. And at some point, I found myself in Namibia, and I met this cat called Bonks, and he was like, you know what, let's do a radio show. You know, and I think with the Cypher, I kind of took a back seat from trying to be an MC, and then this kind of gave me that platform to start promoting MCs and finding MCs and hosting a lot of freestyle battles. I met you through the Cypher as well.
Yeah,
and it was one crazy period of my life with the Cypher, but it also taught me how to appreciate different art forms in terms of hip hop, because when I was growing up, I was so much into, like, you know, hip hop has to be raw, it has to be underground. I'm not going to listen to Puff Daddy, I'm not going to listen to this. But then once you start hosting different type of personalities and you start playing different type of music, you start to appreciate music from whatever direction it comes from, you know. And that's what I think the platform taught me, like, you know what, there is an art form in any sound. You know, there's an art form in what Puff Daddy is doing. There's an art form in what Mace is doing. Yes, I might not understand it, but there's an art form in doing that, you know. And I think I remember an interview from 50 Cent when how he got into rap, how Jam Master Jay taught him how to rap on the beat. And that basically taught him how to have a more commercial sound, because that rugged sound was not flowing at the time. But anyway, that's what platforms like this do for you. They educate you. You think you know it all, especially as a hip hop head. You always think, you know what, I know it all, and this is how hip hop must be. But then when you open up your mind and when all these platforms give you the opportunity to learn.
All right. I could never forget that time, like the time when we were out in Namibia. You literally put me on, because like I found you there. I think I hadn't done anything besides just writing rhymes and all of that, but through that platform, I started appreciating rapping in its purest form. For me, basically, it was like, okay, so I can basically do this for sport. And the ciphers were dope, and some ciphers were heated. I remember there's a time when we almost got cornered, when we were guys who were there, and it got a bit ruffled up and we didn't know what to do. And we had good times. And I remember there's a time Scar and who was those two rappers? Yeah, and they came through, and we had a cipher on there as well. So it was really, for me, it was times when I really appreciated hip hop for what it was. And when I came back to Botswana, that's kind of like the philosophy I came back with. It was like, yo, all that other stuff is good, but if you really want to get somewhere, you have to appreciate the basics first, the fundamentals. Yeah. And if you can hold your own against anybody, then you can go a step further and say, okay, now I'm ready to release a record. So that's, for me, I'm really appreciative for that period of my life, because that was really a foundation for what even set up what I'm doing right now. Because now, like you're saying, that passion, that hunger is what I'm taking into everything that I do. Now, real quick, how's the scene in Zambia like right now? Like how is hip hop being consumed in Zambia at the moment?
It's a good time for hip hop in Zambia right now because we have cats that are basically like the largest artists in the country at this particular time. And it's Seven. He's, I think, for the past 3 years, he's headlining major concerts, major festivals in the country, and he's doing it in vernacular. And the one thing that I came to appreciate, especially when I moved back to Zambia, the time when I moved back here, I think a few years later, we opened up our own studio and we started recording artists. And then these artists were rapping in vernacular. And then this is from a guy who, like I said, we had I loved a certain type of hip hop. But then this period also contributed to opening my mind. So, you know what, there's art form in being true to yourself. Sometimes you can't always communicate in English, so communicate in your own language, and whoever you reach, then you have reached your own target audience. So basically, bringing this to the situation right now, we have the biggest acts in the country, Chef 187, Slap D, and primarily these guys rap in vernacular. And most concerts, most festivals will have one or if not both of these guys headlining it. So it's a pretty great time for hip hop right now in the country. People are making a living out of it, and the fact, one thing I do appreciate is how the artists also incorporating live music, so that they're performing with bands, so that they're expanding the art form, they're expanding the producer, expanding the whole music industry in the country. But in terms of on the underground, I guess, I don't know if they still call it underground now, but in terms of unknown cats, there's still a lot of cats on Facebook that are doing their thing online. They're putting out music. Of course, the radio stations, as always, won't promote that hardcore hip hop, but then the hardcore hip hop is still there on the streets. You got cats that, oh man, some of the sickest MCs I've heard in my life. I've heard them here in Zambia, and it's crazy. There's this one cat called Dagger. You need to listen to him. This kid, he comes from this group called Street Bangers. The Street Bangers is one of my favorite Zambian acts, and these guys spit some of the craziest stuff. I remember the time when we used to record some of their songs. These guys would come in the studio and do 3, 4, 5 songs, and nobody has a piece of paper.
Wow!
The guys go in the booth and spit the whole. He has a 3-minute song with the hook, singing it off the head.
Wow.
And then do another song and another song. And I'm like, wow, what type of brains are those, man? That capacity in their heads, this is crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, I think it's a great time to see what this period does for the movement as well.
Yeah.
The cats are locked down, or they're indoors. Yeah. And now they're forced to sit down and be creative. Maybe write more songs and so on. So it's going to be an interesting period right now. I forgot to mention one other big act. There's this guy called Bobby East.
Yeah, I think I've heard about him, yeah.
You could be sitting there and thinking, no, this doesn't work. But then the guy just becomes one of the biggest acts in the country as well, because there's a method to his madness. And I think Bobby East is one of those guys who's just basically found his niche and made it work for him. And then I remember just a few months ago, I went to a concert that he did, and it was just, I was like, wow, this guy is 100% all-round MC and an all-round artist.
Yeah. All right, that's fresh, man. And are there still any gaps that you think that need to be closed in terms of where hip hop could go in Zambia, or do you feel like you're on cruise control, like you're on your way out in terms of the artists and everything?
I think the biggest, in terms of gaps to advance the art form, it'll always be funding. funding will always be an issue. Trying to get the corporates to jump on to the movement will always be an issue. The biggest problem I have with corporates is they only jump on when you're big, you know. So they'll be like, "Oh, we have Bobby East here. Let's go support him." Or here, let's go support them. But nobody is going to support you, no matter how talented you are, when you're on the come up. You know, nobody wants to discuss. No one wants to help you unearth your gems and help you blow. You just want to ride your wave, and I think that's a problem, because you need to be part of the grassroots, so that you help just give mentorship. It's easy for you to get lost in the fame and the little money that you make, and get lost in your lyrics and want to live your lyrics, and before you know it, you're going nowhere fast. We've seen it happen internationally.
Yeah.
You know, you get great MCs like Beanie Siegel just making dumb mistakes. You're like, what the fuck, man? Why are you making such mistakes? Like, what's happening? You know, like, but you're such a great MC and you're making money, but because you want to live what you're writing, you're making mistakes, you know?
Yeah.
So I think, of course, the need for funding, there's need for mentorship, there's need for management. The biggest issue you get in the country is lack of management. You're going to go, you walk up to Edwin and say, you know, manage me, but what skills, what qualifications does Edwin have in managing your affairs? You know, how would I manage your bookings? Would I manage your money right? You know, do I have the knowledge to understand what your contract should have for you before you perform, and so on. So I think those are some of the gaps that are in the industry, in the country. And I think once we can try to start sorting some of these out, then there's hip hop. Most of these MCs can now move out from their mom's bedroom.
Yeah.
Actually go pay for their own flat. You know, so basically we just need to introduce structure. You know, structure is pretty important, and that's one thing I learned pretty quick, that without structure, if there's no manager, no accountant, no lawyer, no this, it's hard for you to create a career out of your hip hop. You know, you too.
All right, man. So, real quick, now we're on lockdown right now. It's you know, we're not moving around, especially out here. We're not moving around. I'm sure out there as well, there's some form of restriction happening. I don't know. How are you, let's say as a company, as EOF, as Live TV, how are you managing the current situation with COVID-19 and the pandemic?
Yeah. So, you know, the craziest thing about this period, I remember I was talking to one of my connections from SA, a gentleman called Max Moyo. And he said, this going forward is unscripted. Like, nobody knows what's going to happen next. Nobody knows nothing. There's no expert right now. Like,
I'll throw something else in there. Only the freestylers are going to win in this period.
Exactly. This is freestyle now. Nobody can come and tell you, you know what, this is how you're supposed to, like guy, you know, this is new uncharted territory right now. This is the undiscovered country right now. It's crazy. Yeah. So basically, what we are trying to do is, now we're trying to, because for our business, for TV, for Fortress Media, our business is based on human interaction.
Yes.
You know, for me to take a picture, for me to shoot a TV that's supposed to launch, I think, in a week's time, is hosted by a gentleman in the UK called Phil, doesn't like the name Philip, called Phil, and another gentleman in SA called Justin. So we have a show called Billionaires in Boxes that's basically based on Zoom meetings and WebEx interactions. And what we're trying to do with this show is to teach people how to live in this new world, how to work remotely, how to interact remotely, and so on. So these are some of the things that we're trying to do as Live TV to basically start finding new footing in these new waters. And then as Fortress, what we're trying to do as well is try push one of our streaming services, because we did have a lot of streaming activities in the previous years, but now we're trying to make this one of our premium offerings, because a lot of people would need to stream whatever they're offering, whether it's a church, whether it's a board meeting, and so on. So we're trying to push that as well, so that, you know what, let's find new territory, because a lot of people in terms of photography are a bit skeptical about coming to a studio, or about you going to their house and taking pictures, which is understandable, because even on our part, you don't know who you're meeting and or, you know, what they're carrying. Like this infection is tricky, so you know, like you can't tell on face value.
That's it.
So yeah, so we just try to see how we can switch up our offerings. And then one thing we're right with it. Like I said, this is unscripted. This movie is like the director just said action, and then we just have to run with it. It's a horror movie. Well, it can easily be a horror movie for you.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It's a blank page.
That's true.
It's almost like what is going through a reboot, and it's up to you to find your footing right now. So for us right now, I'm always online just reading, trying to find like, well, what are they doing here? What are they doing in this industry? What's happening there? Should we switch up our offering? Should we move away from being a purely media house and go into supplies? Can we supply hand sanitizer? Should we go into, like basically we have to evolve. Just the other day, I was having a conversation and I said, you know what, guys, Nokia started out as a tire company, and now they ended up doing phones, and
you know what I'm saying?
Doing what not. Check. So like you don't. This is the time to stay to be as agile as possible.
As possible, yeah.
Anything goes, and nobody's gonna say, oh, "I thought you used to take pictures." You're like, "No, well, I thought you used to rap."
You know what I'm saying?
If the time comes for you to start singing, this is the time. Like if people are looking for you to sing for them, this is the time for you to switch up and say, you know what, let me try this. And that's the one thing I can always take back from hip hop and freestyling. Freestyling teaches you one thing, that you need to think on your feet. You're surrounded by a whole bunch of MCs that want to show you that they're better than you, and they're throwing all these words at you, and you need to take that situation, and it's a dynamic situation, and you need to take that situation, and not for everyone. Like to sit down, look at it, and say, you know what, this is a freestyle battle right now, and I'm battling life, and I'm battling the planet, and how do I basically find my feet?
Facts, bro. Facts. Now, as we wind down, real quick, in 5 years, where do you see yourself? Where do you see your company? Where do you see your network?
Yeah. So in 5 years' time, where do I see myself? See myself in a place where we have presence all over the continent. Many years ago, I would say I wanted to build a global company, but right now, I think the globe is on the continent. This is where the globe is. This is where the whole globe is looking at Africa and saying, look at all that potential. So even us as Africans, we need to stop looking to be in New York or be whatever. We need to be in Lagos, we need to be in Cape Town, we need to be in Accra, we need to be on the continent, because the population is here, the raw material is here, and this is raw material not just for minerals, but even talent.
Yeah,
there's so much talent on the continent, because think about it, we have so many different ethnic groupings, and that's so much wealth of knowledge, of life being deeper in the continent as possible, because this is where you can change the rest of the world from here.
True, and without even having to go anywhere. I feel like that's the best part of it.
That's the thing. So once we can learn to refine the raw talent, refine our minerals, our designers, and so on. Once we can learn to refine that, then we'll be unstoppable. We'll be of youth to just do something. And if you can provide a platform for them to express themselves, then you can run the world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. So lastly, how do people connect with you? How do they reach out to you? How do they,
Yeah.
how do they, how are they able to like tap into your platform, into what you have to offer? Just, if you can give us your socials as well, so people know exactly how to reach out to you in case they have a concept, something they want to pitch to you. You never know. They might have some footage that they want you to see. How do they do that?
All right. So media Zambia, that's on Facebook, or Live TV Africa. If you got music videos that you want to come and put on the platform, or if you have ideas for scripts, if you have you've shot a series and nobody wants to play your series, nobody wants to play your movie, you could just get in touch on Live TV Africa, and we can have a conversation and see how that will work. Usually, what we do is, because we always work in a way where everybody has to benefit. So if you bring your content here, we'll find a way to ties it. And you can ERAZE or Fortress. That's my Twitter handle. You can find me on Instagram. Just look for Fortress Media, or look for I am ERAZE. And then you can go to our website. That is tvafrica.com. Yeah.
All right. No, fresh, man. So that's it. It's a wrap. Thank you so much for taking the time, bro.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right. Fun. All right, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, that was this week's edition of Know the Ledge. Now you know what to do if you want to get your stuff beyond our borders. You know what to do if you want to bring the stuff into the continent from wherever you're watching this. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and we are out. Peace.